Welcome to Sable BooKnight, an independent publishing company located in Canada, offering author services and accepting submissions for anthologies. Visit sablebooknight.ca for more information, and BooKnight shares the K. Here are your hosts, Tania and Story Tyrant. Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 6 of the Sable BooKnight podcast. And today we are going to talk about planning book launches. My name is Tania.
And I'm Story Tyrant.
And thank you for joining us today. So this past weekend, we went over and had the Sable BooKnight's first anthology, Portals, book launch at the Selkirk Library called the Gaynor Family Regional Library, and everything seemed to have gone fairly well. I mean, it's the first time I've organized one myself, and I think we had no major issues.
It went great.
Yeah, I think we had a decent show. I was hoping for more. There was people that I knew that I'd hoped would show up that didn't, but I think overall, considering most people, I mean, half the people there, I think, were people that we knew, like other writers and stuff, and the other half were family members of the authors, and a couple of people that I don't think knew any of us.
Yes, I thought it was great. We had, I think, 4 people show up, possibly 5, because they were talking, that did not know, and they just came in to see what was going on, and I was like, yes! But they read about it. They read about it on the library website.
Yeah, and some people found us in the library's newsletter,
Yep.
and people, we were in the newspaper as well, so I'm not too sure if any of them found us in the newspaper.
Actually, that was mentioned by several people, just in casual conversation.
Oh, nice.
Yes. Apparently they had forgotten about the launch, or they hadn't known about it and discovered it through the newspaper. So people do not understand the reach of newspapers.
Yes. I had people that I bumped into in town that said that they saw the article, so I think it went very well. In total, we sold about 21 copies, and we had a lot of them ask for autographs of all the authors, so we sat at the signing table for quite a while.
I got distracted, as I always do, and was talking to people we hadn't seen in years about starting up another writing group in Selkirk. And then people are saying to me, "Can I have your autograph?" Oh,
Yeah, I'm like, Tyra, come back and sit down. We need
yeah.
you.
I'm happy I bought those 2 really nice pens. I know they don't look fancy, but they're really nice writing pens.
Yes, that's actually one thing that I'm going to note is to make sure we have, because the library's pens just kept wearing out.
Yes.
Pens for signing.
Yes, and I'm so thankful for family members who helped. Your husband and boys, my husband Curtis, and people laughed and thought I was joking about his name, and I said no, it really does put me on the shelf next to Heinlein for my science fiction.
Yeah, that was great. Honestly, I think like all of the authors did a really good job. I love how animated Greg was and how engaging he was. And Denise did a great job. Scarlett was rushed. I felt so bad for
Yeah,
her.
I know, but she did good.
She did really good though for being rushed. I was nervous. I don't know if you could tell, but like my hands were shaking. It's the first
Well,
time that I've talked about Sable BooKnight in a microphone.
yep. Well, I was very confused because I assumed the mic on the podium would be the one that would be live. So when she's saying, "Well, this is the one," and she's holding it, I was like, "Well, she's going to swap them, right? She's going to swap them, right?" She did.
Yeah, well,
Like,
she
oh,
gave me the option, and then I didn't really give her an answer, so she just used
yeah,
the
yeah, okay,
mobile
okay.
one. But
But
yeah.
I thought you were going to read before introducing me, so that's why I kind of like, oh, she's saying my name
Well, and I was going to do it that way, but then Sean, my husband, suggested that I read last because I'm going to do the ending as well and like close it off. So rather
now.
than
That made
me,
sense.
yeah. So it just made a lot of sense to leave it to the end. Um, yeah. So in terms of how to plan a book launch, there are many things one needs to consider. For example, what I left to the last minute was bookmarks and business cards. And it's funny because I knew it. I knew it months ago. I would need this, and I didn't plan it. And I was so thankful to you for mentioning it on our Wednesday Pro Writers meeting, because otherwise I wouldn't have had that. And people were grabbing business cards. So,
Yes.
right. So, bookmarks and business cards, if you can plan it ahead of time and get them colored, like printed professionally on a color printer so that it has like the book design on it, I think that works the best. Business cards. So for me, the business cards were about Sable BooKnight, but if you don't have a publishing company and it's not about your publishing company, then you're going to want to have one like with your writing email on it and your contact information that you're willing to share for people who are interested in you as a writer.
I will say, when it comes to, I believe that every author needs a business card, and that business card is about them. It's not about their books. Like, it should say on it, writer, and it should say, and you should probably have a thing on the back if you want, what your genre is. But you really do, or really should have business cards. But because that's you presenting yourself as an author.
Yeah.
And you can also put on there on the back, like, writer, and you can do you can even say what you do, like the genre, if you're a genre writer, or if you're a horror writer, mystery writer, or if you do things, because it's kind of an ad for yourself. Well, it is. It's an ad. It's information and an ad about who you are. I will point out, always get a look at the venue first. I was so happy when you told me you'd gone and looked. I was like, yes.
Yeah, I think that's important. Your location is probably one of the first things that you need to look at, because who can host you and where are they located? Is it accessible to the writers involved? If there are, like, for in this case, it was an anthology, so we had multiple authors to think about. But if you're doing one solo, then it's just you and your contacts and who is going to show up and what is more convenient for them. Yeah, because you're not going to get a lot of strangers coming in. You might get people who attend that location and have seen it advertised. Um, but mostly libraries are good, and bookstores that will take your book on consignment. So we usually would go to McNally Robinson's in Winnipeg, but they said they no longer take authors on consignment. So that was out. So we're still looking for another location in Winnipeg so that we get a bigger crowd.
Yes. The other thing is when you're advertising the events, if you are doing drinks, like we did drinks, or you did drinks, I should say you, it's yours. You should say that there will be refreshments, and yeah.
Yes, that's one thing I didn't put on there. I think it might have drawn more people in if I said there would be refreshments, because it's just more of a, it's more enticing, it's like, yay, free beverages or free snacks. And we
Just
did, like a meat cheese platter and fruit and Timbits and tea and coffee. And I think there was juice there. Was that, did you
Yeah,
bring the juice?
there
Yeah.
was juice and tea, coffee. There was four types of tea. There was sugar. There was artificial sweetener, two types, because some people want the stevia. I thought I had bought in stevia and not Splenda, the other one. But when I got there, I realized it was Splenda mixed with stevia and stevia.
Hmm,
So I was like, oh, whoops, okay.
interesting.
Yeah, but people didn't care. And yes, and then the teas, multiple teas, one that's a decaf, a natural decaf, and then just two teas, sugar, and you brought Timbits, which
Yeah.
everyone loves Timbits. The
Yeah.
thing I discovered in the past is when I made sure the sign said refreshments, we always got more seniors. And
Okay.
what intrigued me is Voices always sold well to seniors. They loved Voices. They And I don't know if this is just for the crowd in Selkirk or the crowd that we used to get in Winnipeg. I don't know, but I remember the tall guy at McNally saying, "Yes, if you're doing an anthology, seniors will buy them. Like, they buy more anthologies than they buy single books." a
I
single
think it's
topic.
because of the size of the story, so they can take it in like shorter spans. And if it's something that they don't enjoy, they just move to the next story rather than, I'm buying this whole novel. It's going to take me a long time to get through this. And what if I don't like it?
You know what? I think that's probably what it is, because they are more economical, and they share. Like, so if you get two or three from the same place, they tend to buy one copy unless they're buying for someone else. And I noticed that too. They will think, oh, my grandchild or someone is into writing. I'm going to grab one of these. I have met many seniors who came out and said, oh, I bought a Voices from you a few years ago. My granddaughter loved it. I'm going to grab a couple more. And many times on sale, like we were at different locations. And it always surprised me. But yes, the tall gentleman whose name is escaping me right now, he said, yes, anthologies, especially when there's a mixed group of anthologies, always sell well with seniors. And I don't know if it's still true, but it was true. So
Yeah, no, I think that's it makes a lot of sense. So when you're setting your date for your launch, you have to make sure you consider how long is it going to take me to get the books printed? When is
hmm
it going to be ready? Um,
hmm
yeah, I think that's like the biggest part.
you have to coordinate your date, your print. So you say, okay, I'm going to go and have an article printed in the local paper at this time, and and it should come out in the newspaper a week or two before your launch date to give people notice that you're having the launch. You have to coordinate with the location if they have a newsletter or a website or both to have it going out in their uh, advertisings, and you should be telling local people. And if you are also like if you're going to like the breakfast show or something and talking about your book or something like that, or going on a radio. People who
Yeah.
listen to the radio, again, a lot of seniors, and a lot of people like me who listen to the radio, they hearing about a book launch locally, they are more likely to attend. So,
Yeah, and it's actually quite easy to get yourself in the newspaper because when you think about it, everybody that puts articles in the newspaper, they are writers themselves and they are very big on supporting authors. So for me it was just as simple as sending an email and saying, "Hi, are you interested in this? I have a book launch, I have a publishing company." And they were very excited and jumped right on that story. So it's not you don't have to pay for an article.
no,
Like
no, you
you
don't.
can pay for an advertisement if you want to, but it's better to have a story done.
Yes. I have, well, not I, Lake Winnipeg Writers Group did pay twice for local papers to run a little ad about our book. Um, and the funny part is the one paper, instead of it being $100, they give it to us for 25. And the other paper said, no, we're not running an ad. We're going to do a whole full page. And I was like, oh, okay. So I went
That's
down there. It was my
nice.
very first time I was in the paper holding a book of Voices going, oh, okay.
Yeah, and the library actually gave me a cutout of the article because when I got home from my vacation, even though my family had looked at the article, I couldn't find the newspaper anywhere. So something happened to that newspaper, so I didn't have a copy.
Yes,
So
I went to Clandeboy where we used to have this bin outside where you got the paper. It's this thing and it's gone. And I was like, oh no. So then I went to Petersfield. They didn't have any. And then I'm in Selkirk and no one, they said, oh no, they're gone already. I was like, damn it, because I didn't get a copy.
aw. Well, if
It's
I
okay.
find the other copy that went missing here, then I'll make sure you get a copy of it.
Um,
Yeah, okay, so on top of doing the newspaper and advertising locally, the other part of it is social media.
yes.
Have every account that you have, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, whatever it is that you're on, make sure you put a post out there and make sure it's a public post so that it can be shared to other people. And also for example, the anthology, we had multiple authors involved, so I made sure that all the authors got a copy of this post so that if they wanted to share it, then they could, and that also increases the visibility of it. Yes, so I also have written down multiple payment options. This was something I
Yes.
toyed with for a long time. We're in Canada, so we can accept e-transfers, and cash is probably the biggest one that will go through. But a lot of people don't carry cash these days, and so I think it's important to find an option to accept debit and credit cards. I used Square, and it was super easy. There was multiple options that I looked into for this, and most of them are monthly fees. They require monthly fees, but the Square is free. There's no like payment, regular monthly payment that you have to subscribe to. They take up to 2.5% of each sale. And that's really nothing compared to selling it in a bookstore where it's like 30 to 40% that they take of the actual sell price.
And did you go through Costco?
No.
Oh, okay. Costco has a deal with Square, and I was going to ask you because I know you're a Costco member too, and I keep
Oh,
wondering what's the difference between their deal with Square for customers?
yeah, I don't know. That's weird because you literally just go to their website, set up a free account, and then install the app on your mobile device, and then you are connected. And then I wasn't going to buy the actual Square because you can actually take payments right on your phone. All smartphones have the ability to accept tap, but my husband's like, just invest in the Square.
Yeah.
So I did. I bought the actual little Square, and it connects with Bluetooth. So connectivity is important to be able to make the
Yeah.
Square work. So we took about
My
4 payments on Square.
my smartphone does not accept tap. I have disabled all those abilities.
Oh yeah, mine's always disabled. I did enable it because you have to enable it to allow the Square app to work on
Oh,
the phone. So I
well,
had
yes.
to, even though I didn't actually use it. But literally, if you don't have it allowed on your phone and you open the Square app, it'll tell you you have to go into your settings and enable it for this to work. So yeah, okay, so we talked about payment options, bookmarks and business cards, getting copies of your book, beverages and snacks, the location and the date, and marketing and advertising. What else do you think makes a good book launch?
Making sure everybody knows what they're there to do. Making sure you double check who's coming and who's not coming. When Greg showed up, I thought, "Oh, right, he did say he was reading," but I hadn't remembered you mentioning him for a while, and I thought,
That was the
"But
only oops on my part. Like,
was it?"
even, no, you know what? Even looking back in my notes, I didn't write his name down.
Oh,
But I recall vaguely now, I recall an email saying that he would do it, and I didn't add him to the list. And so we had
that's
to
nothing.
ask the librarian to rush and make the label, like for his name. But she was willing to do it.
Yeah, but it was perfect. It was perfect because it literally we had plenty of time. Oh, that was the thing I was going to say. Time, making sure everyone gets there 30 minutes early, um, is critically important
Yes.
because you have to, even though everyone thinks they know what they're doing, when they get there, especially their first time, and especially since their story, we all get really excited and like Denise could not remember anything from the note she could that you had sent out the email. She was sitting there. She goes, I don't know what we're supposed to do. Are we sitting up there? Are we sitting back here? I said, no, we're going to sit up there. She goes, where do we sit? Do we sit in that back table? I said, no, we sit in the front table. I said, I'm just not sure the
Oh,
order.
I was very surprised. I was really happy to walk in and find everybody sitting there waiting
Yes.
for me. And I said I was going to be there between 2 and 2:15, and I got there by 2:15, and everybody was there already, and I was like, "Okay, everybody's ready to go and organized here. This is good."
Yep.
Yeah.
I had to be there half hour early for the urn. This is something, if you are supplying coffee and you're bringing an urn, uh, so if you're bringing an urn, you need to know how long it takes your urn to make the coffee. And I remembered 20 minutes, 20 minutes, but I couldn't remember it was 20 minutes for me adding the water and turning it on and it's done, or if it's after I've filled it, put the coffee in, and then it's 20 minutes before the red light comes on saying it's ready. It was 30 minutes. So I was right. I said, I better give myself 30 minutes. So I got there at 2. It took me till 2:15 to get things sorted. And then we got it plugged in and turned on. I think just before you arrived, we already had it turned on. But the little red light came on after the first group of people were taking coffee from it. Like, and I
Oh,
saw it go
yeah.
bing. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, it's ready. The coffee is ready.
Yeah. No, I really appreciate you bringing that. I was originally just going to get the coffee from Tim's or whatever because I don't drink coffee at home, so
Well, and that was the thing I was going to say. If you are bringing coffee from Tim's or any other place that gives those big things of coffee, you need to come as close to the start as possible
it stays
because,
hot.
yes, because I've been at events where people were complaining how cold the coffee was. I don't drink coffee, so because I was
Yeah.
boiling the kettle for tea and they were putting coffee in there and then adding hot water to try to warm it up.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, okay. But she had arrived a half hour early and had set her 2 Timmy's things up on the bench. It was a nice launch meeting, but and this is why when you said, okay, I'm going to say this. A couple of times when we did voices, people wanted to change the date, and I would say no, and they'd go, no, no, we want to move it a week earlier. I'd go, no. We've done the advertising. We've talked to different papers. We're a couple members have talked to the local radio station. We literally have the site set. We know what the venue looks like. We have things organized for the food and for the refreshments. We're not changing it. And people would get mad, and I'd say, no, you're not changing one thing because you want to go on a picnic with somebody or you have a different plan. When we have 28 members showing up and a venue picked, even if it's one person's book, when you have all this organization and you have to have as a hard date of the launch. And that's something, if you're a person who, if you organize it correctly, it's a fixed date. You can't change it. So try to pick the date really well. Because we
Yes.
did make a mistake once with the voices. We launched it on a day. It was Saturday or it was a Sunday. And it was a day where there was some sort of playoff game, a really important playoff game in hockey. And like we had almost nobody show up but members. And
Yeah.
even the members were rushing out to go home to finish watching the game. And I was like, this was a bad pick. Like, so when you're picking a day, like you did a good job. So when you're picking a day, say, okay, what else is happening in the world on that day? Like I'm not talking, the circus comes to town. But if it is the weekend of the fair, maybe you should do it the following weekend. If it is the weekend of what's that famous the hockey with the Stanley Cup game, the playoffs.
Oh, yes.
That's what it was. And I was like, that may have been the wrong weekend to, you
Yeah.
know,
And it's
do a
hard to
lunch.
catch everything, but just being mindful of what's happening is really important. And the other part that you need to consider is your display. How are you going to set up your book display? How are you going to set up your author table? How are you going to set up the snack table? How much space do you need? What all can you bring? How many copies are you going to lay out? Now, I was very lucky that Xavier showed up and was willing to
Yes.
help because he
Thank you,
offered to
Xavier.
help, and I said, I need to get all these bookmarks inside the books and set up on the table. And he says, great, how would you like it? And I said, I don't know. And he says, okay, can I try something out? I said, yes, please do so. And so he
Yes, he
did,
was
and it was
great.
wonderful.
Yeah, I really appreciate him coming out and helping because you do need a couple extra people, and he's very creative, so that helps. So,
Yes, yes, he did a wonderful job, and I was really thankful for Curtis because I would have had to rush over to the other table and do the sales. And if I didn't have, and I knew, it's funny how many things I thought I knew months before that I would need somebody. I wanted somebody to do the sales. I wanted somebody to film it. The filming did not go well. The digital camera cut out after the first 15 minutes.
oh,
So
oh
we
well.
didn't get the whole thing. I was going to put it on the YouTube channel and that, but that's okay. It still went well, and yeah. So I think planning. There is a lot of planning, and you might not think that there is a lot of planning, but there's a lot of planning. There's some shopping involved, like tablecloths. It looks a little bit more professional and more elegant if you have tablecloths set up rather than having it just on a plain bare table.
Yes.
So Yeah, that went well. We did well with the organization, and now that we've done this once, I'm going to make myself a checklist, and this checklist
Yes.
I'm going to use for every launch.
Good. I, as you said already, and I will reiterate, presentation is very important. That
Yes.
was one thing that McNally said they loved about us is we always came in early. We always set the table up for the books. We made sure we had it set up very beautifully. Like they always had tablecloths because they would say it's important to have a certain level of, certain level of professionalism.
Yes.
And we would always have, and one gentleman said to us, or yeah, he said, your books always look good. You have a style. The voices had a style that was unique because we always knew it was the voices, but it was always a beautiful cover. And that comes from scouring the Interlake for professional photographers. And even when we had pictures of paintings, like Helma would have her friend come over, a professional photographer, retired, who would take the pictures. That's why her paintings always looked so good on our covers.
Yep.
Or pieces of art when they were on the cover. They looked fantastic because they were high resolution, and it was always, either the retired gentleman or this lady who it was a hobby for her, but her photographs won awards. So, it's
Yeah,
a
and
nice
the
hobby.
the portals cover turned out so well. There was
Beautiful.
literally no revisions required on the image itself, just on the names.
Do you have the cover? You have the book with you?
I mean, you think I would, but I do not. So if you do,
One moment, please. I have my book
yes.
sitting right here. Here.
Yeah, so I think it's important, like while Tyra's pulling that out, that you make sure you have yourself organized and have a checklist in advance. Yeah, the cover turned out really nicely. It's very clear what kind of story it is, or stories
Yes.
they are, I should say.
Oh, I was upset. I read my thing out, and I went, oh, I must have taken it out. What I originally had said is when the announcement comes over in the story is the portal is open. Connection is good. And I looked at it and went, where's portal is open? That's why I
Aw.
kind of went, oh, because I was looking at it because it's in my rough. I went and checked my rough when I got home. It was still in my rough. I must have taken out for word count.
Oh, maybe.
Oh, I was
Yeah.
like, really, Tyra?
Yeah, the
The
other
whole point.
thing is if you're not comfortable with speaking in front of people, it's not good to plan to wing it in what you're going to say. I found me planning out what I was going to say and having it typed in front of me made a big difference because then I could focus on that rather than looking out and getting confused in the audience. I think that I would have personally gotten overwhelmed and jittered up over my words. I did a couple times anyways, but
Sounded good.
I think keeping it light and, I mean, professional is good, but adding a little bit of personality and humor, I think, is important because it keeps people engaged.
I had made a few notes and I left them at home.
It happens. I almost didn't have my speech ready and I made mistakes and I didn't finish it. And I went to print it out Saturday around like 12:30, 1 o'clock. And I'm like, oh, I didn't finish this line. And oh, that's not supposed to be in there. And so I had to revise it really, really, really quick the day of the launch.
I remember that I had mentioned Curtis because I like people to know he's my hubby, and he's also a fantastic line editor. I know I keep saying this, but he really is. He's one of the best line editors. He wrote code for years, and in code you're always checking for a misprint, and it's
Oh,
not
for
even real
sure.
words, right? Like some of it's real words, but a lot of it you look at it's gibberish. He reads it, but you and me it's gibberish.
I can understand some code, depending on what it is, but okay, so back to the book launches. Do you have homework?
Yes. I'm not assuming you have to do a book, our listeners have to do a book launch, but what I am assuming is they live somewhere. So I would like them to make a list of local radio stations, local media shows like breakfast television or whatever. Anyone that does slice of life and local um, stuff for the newspaper, the local newspapers. So things like Coffee Time. So Coffee Time, local papers, local bookstores, local library, and and check if your local post office has a bulletin board. Go to community centers, see if they have a bulletin board. If you have a local RM office or town office, do they have a public service bulletin board? I know this sounds odd, but these are all places you can go and tell people about your launch. And I'm sorry I forgot to tell you, and I forgot to tell you till Friday, and I thought, oh, I'm not going to tell you now. I meant to say the city of Selkirk has a upcoming events thing, and it goes on. You drive into a town, there's that sign. It goes on there, and it's free. It's free if it's an event like that. But I forgot to tell you until Friday, and I thought, I won't tell you now. I don't want you to panic.
Yeah, I also submitted Sable BooKnight's information to the Selkirk Blue Book, but I don't know if it's going to be in it. The Blue Book is a list of community services and local businesses and stuff that they give out for free to everybody.
You may or may not, like Sable BooKnight would be in there, but the launch wouldn't. You know
no,
what I mean?
I didn't advertise the launch there, no, but I sent them the Sable BooKnight information.
Yes. And the reason I'm saying this is that when it is time for you to launch your book, or you and a group of co-authors to launch your book or books, it would be great to have a list that you've already made and you've talked to people in these various places, or you've at least picked up their magazines and stuff and said, okay, so you have all your own online. So you have an online list of all your, you're going to have this list, offline list, and for your area. This, I think, is important because a lot of people forget. They either do all online or all offline. It's like, no, you need to do both.
Yeah, I agree. I think both is really important. You'll get a wider audience and a variety of different people, because not everybody is on social media, or not everybody just does things in person. And I think it's important to get both.
Yes. So that is
your homework.
Yeah. Make a list. Get a list of all your online and a list of all your offline, and look around. What's the local radio station? Is there more than one? Is there like a country and easy listening? Is there a rock station? Like, is there different ones? What is your local newspapers? Is there a newspaper for the town people, the county newspaper? And is there like a little country version, or is it the same paper? Is there a newsletter that comes out from your local library? Your civic offices, do they have a website, a sign, and a posting? Check all these places. Look around. You will be surprised what you find. And like your breakfast television shows.
Yeah, I like that. All right. Well, thank you everybody for joining us today, and have a great rest of your day, afternoon, evening, night, or whatever, and keep on writing.
Yes, and remember, story comes first.
Bye. Thanks for joining us today. We hope you have a great rest of your day, afternoon, evening, night, or whatever, and keep on writing.
Yes, and remember, story comes first.